Hello, welcome to Infidelity Stories by Jackie Channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. The house felt quieter than usual, with only the subtle hum of the fridge and the faint ticking of the wall clock filling the silence. He hadn't expected his life to change so much with a new stepmom in the house, but somehow it had. Ever since Sophia married his father, things had felt different. Sophia was graceful with an elegance that seemed almost effortless. Though his dad was older, Sophia seemed vibrant, close to his own age, and there was something about her that drew attention. His father was out for the day, caught up in work commitments. As always, it was almost strange how busy his dad had become and how easily he left them alone together, as though he didn't realize or didn't care about the tension growing between them. His stepmother had taken to managing things around the house with a casual confidence that made him feel out of place in his own home. Sophia had her ways. Little things like how Sophia'd sometimes give him a lingering glance or the soft smile. Sophia'd flash his way as if they shared a secret. They rarely talked, but when they did, there was an unspoken depth, a shared sense of understanding that was hard to ignore. He would find himself stealing glances when Sophia wasn't looking. The way Sophia moved was almost hypnotic, and he couldn't deny that Sophia had a presence that demanded attention. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia noticed his stares, that maybe Sophia even welcomed them. He kept telling himself that it was just his mind playing tricks, a harmless curiosity brought on by living under the same roof. But each day the tension built up, gnawing at the back of his mind, filling him with conflicting emotions he couldn't quite explain. And then there were the subtle things he didn't even know he noticed until later. Like the scent of her perfume lingering in the air, or the soft, almost comforting sound of her laughter. It was as though everything about her was designed to capture his attention. Yet Sophia was always just out of reach, maintaining a careful distance. He'd catch himself wondering if Sophia was doing it on purpose, but each time he dismissed the thought Sophia was after all his stepmother. Yet there was no denying that her presence felt more intense, more magnetic than it should have. The moments of silence would sometimes stretch too long, a charged quiet where neither of them spoke. But everything seemed to be said in the spaces between. The house felt larger and emptier, and those shared glances felt somehow louder than words. He began to look forward to these small moments, to the way her gaze would linger just a second too long, as if Sophia were waiting for him to make a move, or maybe just testing him. It wasn't anything he could put into words, it was a sensation, a pull he couldn't ignore. He'd find himself standing just a little closer when they were in the same room, always aware of her presence like a shadow just outside his field of vision. He knew it was wrong, but he couldn't help feeling drawn to her, and he could feel that Sophia was in some inexplicable way reaching out too. The days blurred together with each glance, each unspoken word pushing the boundaries a little further, and he couldn't help but wonder how much longer they could ignore what was building between them. The day started like any other. Though there was a faint buzz of anticipation in the air, he couldn't quite place alone in the house with her. Once again, he found himself hyperaware of every sound and movement. He tried to keep his mind on his own things, on ordinary routines, but it was as though her presence filled the very air, making it impossible to ignore. He stepped into the washroom thinking a few minutes alone would clear his mind and give him some space. He shut the door, letting the warm water run as he tried to focus on anything but her. A moment later, he heard soft footsteps just outside the door, then a gentle knock for a second. He felt a pang of confusion. Why was Sophia outside the washroom? His heart raced, even though he had no idea what Sophia could possibly want. He took a deep breath, opening the door, just slightly unsure of what to expect. But there Sophia stood, closer than he had anticipated, and the sudden proximity hit him with an unexpected force. Her expression was calm, as if there was nothing unusual about being here in this moment. Just inches from each other, they exchanged a few words, something brief and polite about needing something from inside. He moved aside to let her in, but as Sophia entered there was an awkward, almost accidental brush of hands. He felt his breath hitch, and for a split second their eyes met. There was an electricity in that look, something undeniable that neither of them could ignore. He could tell Sophia felt it too. Her eyes lingered, her gaze softening, and he caught a flicker of something he couldn't quite decipher. The air grew thick with tension, the kind of silent understanding that didn't need words in that fleeting moment. He was painfully aware of how close they were. He could see the delicate rise and fall of her breath, and hear the soft rhythmic pulse of his own heartbeat in his ears. Time felt like it stretched, as if the of them were caught in a separate world, one where boundaries and rules faded away, replaced only by the raw immediacy of their closeness. Every nerve felt alert, and every detail magnified. Her scent filled the small space, mingling with a warm steam from the water, and it felt like a weight pressing down on him, like something inevitable was about to happen just as quickly as it began. Sophia took a step back, breaking the spell. He could see the flush on her cheeks, and the way her expression shifted, as if Sophia were trying to regain her composure. Sophia muttered something vague, a quick excuse that didn't make much sense, but neither of them questioned it. He moved aside, letting her pass. Though his heart was still racing, his mind caught up in the memory of that glance, that brief, unintentional touch as Sophia left. He stood there rooted to the spot, struggling to process what had just happened. The silence in the house seemed to echo louder, and he could feel the weight of her absence almost as keenly as her presence. That moment replayed over and over in his mind. Each time sharper, more vivid, he realized that there was no denying it anymore. This was real, this pull between them, something that neither of them could explain. But both of them felt the hours passed. But he couldn't shake the memory of that brief encounter. Every time he thought about it, a jolt of electricity shot through him. He could still feel the warmth of her presence, the soft brush of her hand against his, the way her eyes had lingered just a moment too long. He found himself replaying it over and over, as if somehow dissecting every detail might help him understand what was happening. This wasn't just curiosity or fascination anymore. It was something deeper, something he couldn't control. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks for listening and see you.